Hello, welcome to our new China series. It's our special series of CGTN celebrating the 70th anniversary of the founding of People's Republic of China.
Absolutely, and we are here in China's city of automobiles,
Yes.
as it's known, Changchun, and we are actually inside a factory, the main factory for Hongqi, right?
Which, means red flag in Chinese and means a lot to Chinese people.
Absolutely, you're talking about cars that range from about 20,000 USD all the way up to $1 million.
The $1 million one was
President
Xi Jinping.
That one's going to carry the president.
But yes, so we're now behind us is this assembly line, which really puts the finishing touch on the cars before they go testing, right?
Yes, and the reason why you're not seeing much action at the moment is because it is a public holiday.
Right.
This is very much a working factory. We're just super lucky to have it be a holiday so we can be inside, up close and personal with
Yes,
this.
we can assure you that this place will get a lot more hectic.
Yeah, hundreds of workers.
But all wholly automated.
Right. I mean,
done by robots, not by
Sure.
human labor.
You still need people to help work those robots, but yes, of course, the car industry has definitely undergone quite a few changes in terms of the assembly line because of automation.
Right, and given all the history and stuff, the latest model we're seeing here is a SUV that apparently they say sells around 60,000 US dollars.
Wow. I find that to be a lot of money for a car, but I'm not a car gal. Are
Because
you a car guy?
No. I am, but you're from Manhattan. That explains. You don't need a car to.
I don't. I got my feet.
Yeah, you got the subway and all that. But for all the history, the rich history behind this gigantic Chinese domestic car maker, which, by the way, is a subsidiary under the FAW Group.
Yes.
We'll go to our reporter Feng Yilei, who's at the exhibition hall of the Hongqi, and she'll give us more of the history about this brand.
Yeah, take it away, Feng Yilei.
Welcome to Hongqi Culture Museum in the headquarters of First Automotive Works, which is the birthplace of the first made-in-China sedan. And here we are in this exhibition museum built in 2006, and it is open only on invitation. So today it is really an exclusive tour for us to show you guys some tens of Hongqi vehicles on display here. And I would like to thank our special guest today, Ms. Wang Yihan. Please say hi to our audience.
这面呢是在上个世纪50年代末到80年代初的一些场景回顾，在这面呢是在1958年的2月13日，当时呢是毛主席来到场内视察，他询问了陪同在他身边的这位饶斌厂长，问到说什么时候可以坐上我们自己制造的国产轿车。
So basically, this series of photos show the progress of Hongqi made from late 50s to 80s. So the one we just saw, it shows in 1958, then Chairman Mao Zedong came to FAW and asked head of the factory when China would make their own sedans. And in order to realize that dream, 能跟我们介绍一下在这个毛主席提出这个要求以后，后来发生了一些什么样的事儿？
为了实现国产轿车的溯源，一些人当时呢在缺少资料和图纸的条件下，工人们呢勇于学习，攻坚克难。上面这些图片呢也记录了当时的一些工作场景。后期呢，我们用了3个月的时间，从无到有，打造出新中国第一辆国产轿车——东风轿车。
So, in order to realize that dream of making China's own sedans, FAW people overcame the difficulties, including a lack of data and information, and they finally made the first domestic sedan called Dongfeng in 1958. And these pictures show the scene of research and development at that time.
这面呢是我们当时打造东风轿车之后呢，把它送到北京的场景。上面呢是很多国家领导人非常的高兴，观看了中国的第一辆国产轿车。
And after that, the finished product was sent to Beijing. And this picture shows then Chairman Mao Zedong checked the Dongfeng vehicle and said with great delight, and he said, the day finally comes when I can take the cars made by ourselves.
东风轿车研制出来之后呢，由于内饰比较狭小，后期呢我们喊出来一个口号，说要乘东风展红旗，81拿出高级轿车去见毛主席。于是呢，人们开始呢以一种非常夸张的方式，赶庙会的方式，人海战术，昼夜不停歇的去敲打。后期呢用时33天，从无到有，打造出新中国第一辆高级轿车——红旗轿车。
And after that, they decided to make China's own limousine. That is how a Hongqi car was produced. 那我们现在能不能看一下刚才您说到的这个红旗轿车具体的一个情况？
在8月1日研制出来之后呢，在8月2日的时候，第2天的时候呢，我们把红旗的高级轿车呢送到了一汽的共青团花园进行红旗轿车命名大会。在上面呢可以了解到，这面就是当时的场景。
And this is the scene of how the vehicle was named after it was produced in the August of 1958.
下面我们看到的是当时呢1959年国庆10周年的时候研制的红旗敞篷检阅车，也是同批送往北京去参加首都国庆阅兵和群众游行的车辆。
And what we are going to see is the Hongqi vehicle series CA72J. It was sent to the 10th anniversary of the founding of the PRC in 1959 for military parade.
在1960年的3月，红旗的高级轿车呢也是参加了像莱比锡国际博览会，受到了与会者的高度评价。从此之后呢，每年一度的世界汽车年鉴当中也会有了红旗轿车的名字。红旗轿车呢也成为了一款世界级的名车。
And later in March 1960, the Hongqi vehicle, Hongqi limousine attended Leipzig International Fair and received high comments from the visitors attended the event. And since then, every year the World Auto Journal will 就是它是这个年鉴对这个红旗是一个什么样的？是一个记录是吗？
这边就是红旗轿车的地位开始逐渐的提升。
Okay, so Hongqi vehicles were kept in that journal, and it shows how it had became a world top level car brand.
好，请大家转身向后啊。这面呢，我们来看3款
Pan this way.
红旗轿车原车。在最右面看到的是1984年35周年的时候所用到的红旗敞篷检阅车。
So on the right hand over there is a classic. 这是原车还是模型？
这个是原车。
It is the real Hongqi car. It is open top, and 它的型号是。那我们可以就是往近距离看一下。
好，中央展台上可以看一下，这款车呢是红旗的 C772，它呢是当年的毛主席乘坐的专车。这款车呢自重呢达到了5吨的。
稍等，我给我们观众朋友翻译一下。And the one in the middle, it was taken by then Chairman Mao Zedong, which weighed about 5吨，5 tons.
这款车呢，在1972年的时候呢，向美国的尼克松总统访华来到中国，也是乘坐的展台上的这一款车，说明呢，这款车的安全系数呢还是非常高的。
This vehicle is very safe, and even at that time when the U.S. President Nixon visited China, he also took this vehicle.
好，我们来前面看一下接下来的下一辆车。下一辆车呢是在1999年的时候50周年江泽民乘坐的红旗防弹检阅车。
And the one on the left is a bulletproof Hongqi sedan, Hongqi parade car taken by Jiang Zemin at the 50th anniversary of the National Day.
好， 正面来看一下，这面呢是我们开发过的系列车型，都是市面上非常少见的、为数不多的一些。
And these are some of the rare types of Hongqi limousine developed by FAW.
在上面呢是当时呢在上个世纪60到70年代流行的一种说法，外国人收访华时候的一个3大愿望。第一呢是见毛主席，第二呢是住钓鱼台，第三呢就是能够乘坐上红旗轿车。也可以看得出呢，在当时呢红旗轿车的影响呢还是非常大的。
And according to these photos, we can see the 3 wishes for the foreign visitors to China. So first is to see Chairman Mao, and the second is to ride in a Hongqi car, and the third is to live in the Diaoyutai state guest house. So we can tell Hongqi really has a important status at that time.
好，咱们来正面看一下，这面呢就是在历史上生产数量最多的大红旗轿车，红旗的 C770，生产数量呢达到了1200辆的一款车型。
1200辆。
是的。
So this is what they called, what people are usually known as the big Hongqi, literally translated as the big red flag. It is Hongqi CA770. And a huge amount of this type of car has been produced throughout the history in a total of 1,200.
好，这面来了解一下，这面是一个非常有意义的一个手工器具——车身装备台。下方展示的这些工具呢，全部都是当时工人们手工打造的一些。当时呢，就是在这样的环境下，手持的以下这些工具在上面进行了手工敲制。
And here we can see how this classic vehicle was produced at that time, and this is the platform, including some of the assembly and welding tools. And after that, we know Hongqi further opened up to the world, and more vehicles were produced. For example,
都是我们曾经开发过的一些系列车型，
these are all
这面呢是
different
由
types of cars developed by FAW.
来的一幅画卷，
And this is a scroll. This is a scroll by one of their designers, and it was given to FAW as a gift at the 50th anniversary of FAW.
大红旗轿车呢研制出来之后呢，一直到1981年的时候呢，就出现了停产。从这面开始呢，是出现了小红旗的经典几款车型。
And the production of the big Hongqi halted in 1980s, and after that, they restarted the production of Hongqi vehicles, but they were named as the small Hongqi, the little red flag, and these are some of their products.
这些小红旗轿车呢，一直到2006年之后呢，就全部都停产了。从2007年至今，就是我们新时期的一个展区。前面新时期的展区呢，全部都恢复到了国产化，整车设计、发动机、变速箱全部都是自主开发的。
And after the production of these small Hongqi, and in the new era, FAW, the manufacturers, they began to further localize the production of their Hongqi vehicles. So these are some of their work, including the localization of the parts and components of the vehicles include, for example, the engine and the transmission and many more.
这面展台上看到的就是新时期的展车了。它呢是车号京威02009，是在2009年的时候60周年胡锦涛乘坐的60周年的检阅车。当时呢就是使用的这款车。
先跟我们的观众介绍一下。And this is the parade car for then President Hu Jintao to attend the military, the review of troops at the 60th anniversary of the founding of the country.
好，这面请。
And finally, here we're going to see a parade car for President Xi Jinping. 是这一辆就是给习主席的。
后面呢，我们看到的就是习主席在抗战胜利70周年的时候所使用到的红旗检阅车了。 当时呢是在2015年的时候所用到的。
It was used in 2015, as I said, for President Xi Jinping.
这边呢整车车长呢是6.4米的，车重4.5吨重的。
It is 1.6 米, 1.6 in length and 6.4 in length and weighs
车重4.5吨重。
4.5 tons.
里面
We
配
can-
的就是国内最高级的动力系统，微型12缸的发动机，6.0排量。
And it was equipped with the most advanced V12 engine, which is the most advanced throughout the country. 而且也是全部都是国产的。
是的，都是自主
And
开发、自
yeah.
主研制的。
Okay, so and totally developed and produced in China. So here we can see not only is historical products well kept here in this venue, and as far as I know, FAW Group has also been heading forward into the new era. For example, it will continue to produce more vehicles, more electric vehicles, more intelligent systems. So later, my colleague Huiyao and Erica will be joined by the guests from the FAW Group, and I guess they will give you more information about about the innovation part of this glorious vehicle manufacturer.
Thank you, Feng Yilei, for all of that. Wow, she got certainly quite a tour there.
Right.
All right, let's bring in our guest, though, because we really want to talk more about the automotive industry here in China and big picture as well. So we've got our esteemed guests here. We have Professor Li Yong, who is a senior fellow with China's Association of Trade, and also Benjamin Qiao, who is a professor with the Paris School of Business. So to you first, Professor Li Yong, why is it so important for China to have an automotive industry?
As a matter of fact, automotive industry is the pillar of the economy, of every economy. In almost all the Western economies, auto industry is the pillar. Right. This is really where the economy is developing around, because it related to many other industries, material, engines.
Right, it helps create other companies to help support the industry, right?
Yes,
not to mention the jobs and the trickle down.
Right, that's the point. And also this represents this level of sophistication of how the industrialized the country is. So this is very important, okay? But China has actually experienced the 3 stages of development. The first stage was between 1953 up until 1978, when China just opened up. And the second stage is from 1978 to the time when China joined the WTO, that was 2001. Mm-hmm. And the real development was after China joined the WTO, when the market started to take off, meaning that all sedan cars have gone into household, meaning that most people,
individuals like us,
like us, can afford to buy different brand, different quality cars. And as of today, we have almost every kind of a Western brand here.
Right.
In China, and we have our independent own brand cars also available, and the percentage of domestic brands started to pick up, to almost nearly 50% of the total sales.
Oh, wow.
And they do face severe competitions from foreign brands, etc. Yeah. But let's get to our Professor Benjamin here. We know that car industry in general, on a whole, is in decline in the world. So, and here in China, companies and the industries are trying to find a way out to see what the future might look like. So what does it look like for China's car industry right now?
The auto industry in the last 20 years actually grew tremendously. Mm-hmm. After China entered the World Trade Organization, since 2001, for the next 10 years, the growth rate was 25%. Mm. And then all of a sudden, we we found that there are too many cars, and the government started to implement some policy to restrict driving, like license plate auctioning and so on. And all of a sudden, the growth rate dropped to about 5% this 10 years. But still, very, very impressive number. We are selling about 30 million cars per year in the last few years. Though we actually saw some decline in the last year alone, perhaps because of the trade war, but it is still very impressive number.
But the question really is, I was just going to say, in the end though, like, the automobile industry has got to adjust and change to the times, right? We talk about global warming, and China has very much a focus on climate change and wants to be a part of the solution, not the problem. Of course, America is just such a gas-guzzling country. So the question really that I have to just add to what Huiyao was asking was, what can the industry do looking ahead? I mean, we know Elon Musk brought Tesla in to try to get some more electric cars on the road. Is
Open
that
the biggest
the answer?
factory in Shanghai.
Right, that was incredible. So, but is it the answer?
It's part of the answer, at least. China right now has about 5 billion electric cars. It is exactly because of the increasing fuel price and also the government policy to really encourage the development of electric cars, because it's cheaper with the electricity. But then the Chinese government also reducing some of subsidy recently. They are still balancing whether actually making the batteries in the end actually could create even more pollution. So they are exploring some new directions, such as hydro cars using hydrogen as fuel, and we have maybe a few thousand right now running on the streets.
So that's the alternative. If the electricity car doesn't work out, as great as planned, then we've got some.
How expensive are those cars, though? In the beginning, I remember. At least this is what I know about Teslas in America. Oh, hey, we've got a little bit of work thing happening. They're testing. But like in America, it's so expensive to buy a Tesla. You have to be pretty well off to get one of those cars.
In China, the market niche is a bit different. We have a huge market for the middle to lower end of the products, which is selling for only 50,000 to 100,000 only. And in addition to that, you might be given a license plate, which you need to spend another 100,000 otherwise if you're using a traditional car. So it's huge incentive for anybody.
Incentives. All right. So
we'll catch up with you guys later.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
And as for now, I think we'll get to our reporter Zhao Yunfei, who is now in Tian'anmen Province.
Because it's not just about cars that China manufactures.
We want to broaden out a little bit and talk about.
We want a big picture on the manufacturing process. So let's send it over to Zhao Yunfei.
Yes.
Hi there, Erica and Huiyao. It finally gets to me. I know that you guys have a lot to offer in terms of made in China, and I have something very special to offer you today as well. So I'm right now at assembly line. It's basically a headquarters of assembly line for TBM. What is TBM? TBM is tunnel boring machine. So it's used to kind of dig tunnels. It's used to excavate tunnels. So I know that New China, the Special Series program, has come to the 6th day, and especially from our mobile studios, you probably have already witnessed many places with tunnels, especially in the mountainous area. I'm talking about the southwest route. When the mobile studio goes through the tunnels, you'll probably be able to see it, and that is because of the advanced infrastructure that China has. So there's a saying in China, if you want to build wealth, you build roads. So a lot of the tunnels are made both for roads and railways, also in urban cities, in some bigger cities, Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, but also in some smaller cities, second-tier, third-tier cities, as well as provincial capital, like here in Changchun. Many places need subways, the metro systems, and given the fact that China is the country that has a very diversified landform. So if you want to build railways, or if you want to build metros, when you dig tunnels underneath, some cities have rivers pass through, some different cities have different soil. It all depends on the TBM, the tunnel boring machines. So it's to withstand a tremendous amount of pressure. It is very difficult to change to build. It's a very big challenge to build and design. So it's a case-by-case thing. But it also, the techniques not only can benefit China, as China has built tunnels all over the country, it can also borrow its kind of experience to the outside of the country. So this June, the rolling out production line actually shift to Italy for a high-speed railway project linking Milan and Verona, and it's the first machine ever used in EU. So this is also a assembly line that can also, the machines of this can also shift it to other parts of China. It's majorly in southeastern Asia as well as European countries. So with us, I have two guests contributing our discussion today. They are Mr. Feng, Project Manager of China Railway Engineering Equipment Group, and Yan, Technical Engineer of China Railway Engineering Equipment Group. So, guys, thank you for coming, and please give us a brief introduction of what's behind this. What is this?
Okay, this one is our in producing TBM, but we don't have the shield right now, just have the backup system. You can see the white box. This one is our operator cabin. When the machine is working, the operator will just sit here and control the whole machine. And for other stuff in the backup system, there is a distribution system, hydraulic pump stations, and the fluid system support system here.
Okay, so can you imagine the entire machine is all go underneath the ground, especially when it's digging tunnels. Imagine when it's digging a metro or subway station, the entire machine going underneath. So there is a driving cabin, right?
Yeah, driving, or you can see like the controller, or you can see operator cabin.
So right above us, this is a driving cabin, which means that the drivers inside, while it's digging the tunnel, the drivers inside will be in charge of monitoring the entire machine. So how does it work?
Just one guy sit here, and like 3 or 5 guys in front of the machine to control the other part of the work.
Okay, Mr. Yin, I have a question for you. So when the entire machine is underground or digging tunnel horizontally, vertically, how can we make sure the safety of the machine?
Usually we have a main machine, also called the shield machine, ahead of the backup system. And it's very safe for the whole machine. And usually we can see here, 2 weeks later we'll put the main machine here, and it will consist of three shield: front shield, mid shield, and tail shield. When it works, the worker will stand in the tail shield, and it's a like shield, circular shape. The man standing in the space is very safe.
Okay, so when we were talking about the shield as well, talking about kind of the details of the machine, we'll give you a more detail as we walk forward. Now, back a few years ago, China doesn't have the technique to build a machine like this. It all usually borrow machine from Germany.
Yeah, usually from Germany and German. And in nearly 2008, we designed the first TBM called CRIC #1, and from that years ago, we have the innovation design, and we pursued the reform and development. And after the 10 years development, we have secured nearly 960 TBM order, and now we have delivered nearly 860 sets of equipment to the client.
Okay, so once people maybe wonder how when the entire machine is digging tunnel, how will you pull those mud out of from underground to above? So this is how it works, right?
This is the battle conveyor. Because this machine is in assembly, so we can't see the whole machine. 2 weeks later, we will assemble the main machine here, and in the normal working condition, the soil or marque will be discharged from the screw conveyor and into the belt conveyor, and then transport out of the tunnel.
So all of the things will transport out of the tunnel, and as you mentioned, it will build shield as it is digging, and it is processing, proceeding forward. So, okay, let's go backwards a little bit, just to give you a little bit more information. China Railway Engineering Equipment has shipped over 50 TBMs to 19 countries and regions, including Malaysia, Singapore, Algeria, and the UAE. So many different countries, and it's not, as we mentioned, it's a case-to-case scenario. It's all different machines, all different things. So we have different types of models over here. Let me have a brief introduction about this one. It's a very smart model. So what is this?
This is the slurry TBM. Usually, different city and regions has a different geological condition. So we'll customize the design, and also the TBM can be divided into 3 kinds of machine. This is slurry machine, EPB machine, and hard rock.
Okay, so as you mentioned, this kind of thing is a little bit different than this one, and this is the shield you have just mentioned, right?
This is the cut height, and this is the shield.
Oh, that's the shield. That's the cut height.
Yeah. The cut height will be excavated rock in the tunnel, and then the rock will be discharged by the belt conveyor and along the backup system, and then transport out of the tunnel.
Okay, Yan, we have a holistic idea about this machine, and this is a smaller version of what we just saw. Can you tell us more about how does the entire thing work?
Like that way. In the front part.
In the back part.
Okay, for the back part, for the TBM, hard rock TBM is about like 200 meters to 300 meters. Is for 3 types machines, the functions is same, but since they have different diameter, maybe it looks a little bit of difference. But for the function, they are similar.
So it's basically, I know there are a lot of core techniques in between. When we are going abroad, we're trying to win the bid from the foreign markets. What's our advance? What's our core techniques? Or how can China's equipment better than other countries?
Usually have 4 points. The first, we must customize the design for the different country or different regions, because in different region maybe have different geological condition, so we must customize the design. And the second, as you know, we must comply with the standards and the norms of the local country or region. The third is we must control the quality. We must strictly control the quality to produce the high quality products, and then build the Chinese brands.
So let's take a peek at the entire assembly line a little bit. So even it's the Mid-Autumn Festival period, as you can tell, people are still working. So let's set this as background, please. Stand over here. So people are still working. So they're still working during the Mid-Autumn Festival. So what are they doing behind us?
They are just assembling the machine. This one is for the Shenzhen subway, but the machine is very huge. For this workshop, maybe we can just assembling 4 to 5 machines at the same time.
So I think it's very important. It's an interesting fun fact that when I was talking to one of your managers, she told me that as long as you are trying to build something from other countries, you'll be able to see, okay, this is something that we have done before, because we have done so many of the tunnel digging within China, and no matter what kind of soil, what kind of landform, you can all conquer it just because you did it before.
We can conquer different soil, different rock, and different strata. Usually, we have 3 kinds of machines: EPB, slurry, and rock, hard rock, TBM. For the soft ground, we usually use the EPB TBM to excavate, and for the high penetration strata, that is much water, we may use the slurry TBM. And for the hard rock example, in the mountain tunnel, also we need to use the hard rock TBM because the rock is very hard, maybe 200 and 300 megapascal.
And you also mentioned that you it's a case-to-case scenario. We provided very good services to different parts of the world. What do you think of the most advanced part of made in China products?
I think it should be a service. We have our own design before we made that, but in working we have our service team, technology service team, to make sure it works well during the whole engineering.
Also, Krieger is a professional manufacturer who knows the construction best, as well as the service provider who knows the manufacturer best. So we can have the advantages of the TBM to make the tunnel.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Yin Feng, project manager, as well as Yan, technical engineer. Thanks a lot. All right, we're concluding so far. So we basically talk about the quantity and quality, both of the two things. It's just because these kind of things, China has done so much. That's why it can borrow its infrastructure experience to the outside world, and also given the fact of the Belt and Road framework, much of the experience can be applied and borrowed and kind of learned from different parts of the world. And this is part of the infrastructure development as well as made in China, the good part, the advanced part of made in China. All right, back to you, Huiyao and Erica.
Xiao Yunfei, that was super interesting.
Yes.
Well done. We love that. All right, so much more talk about manufacturing in China coming up for you guys. Who do we have?
That's right. We're going to go to our colleagues Sean Caleb's and Taoyuan back on the bus.
Back on the bus.
In 70 years, China has undergone unprecedented transformation. From its old industrial base in the northeast to its new manufacturing powerhouse in the southeast and to its emerging southwest, CGTN offers you a panoramic view of contemporary China. Our crews will travel along 3 different routes and come to you live from dozens of locations and 3 mobile studios. Join us for an all-inclusive look at China on our TV channel and digital platforms, September the 9th to the 20th. It is New China, then and now, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, only on CGTN.
Hello everybody, day 6, huh? So we're now driving from Liangshan Prefecture, that's predominantly the Yi ethnic minority prefecture. We're driving from there to a city called Ya'an, which is actually not far away from the provincial capital of Sichuan Province, Chengdu City. So a lot of interesting lined up for you in our trip that's to come. Pandas, hot pot, tea ceremony. Sean, you're looking outside of the window. What are you seeing right now?
It's, again, just this landscape that's so rugged in the distance, so plush with its forest land, that it seems a little more flat plain. I guess we're going northward in southwest China at this point, but I've never been to this region, so I guess I'm acting like a wide-eyed kid to a certain degree. And Sichuan Province, again, is a big area, very diverse, not only with its ethnic minorities, but with all of its productions. It's almost a microcosm of China, two different worlds, one that is steeped in poverty and trying to lift its way out of it, and one on the very cutting edge of everything that's cool going on globally right now.
I think all kinds of interesting things and exciting things are happening all across not just Sichuan and Southwest China, but the whole region. So let me right now bring in once again our guests, Victor Gao and Chen Jiahe. So Victor, let me start with you. I think as Sean mentioned before, and you were saying the same thing to me. I mean, we're driving in a rugged piece of terrain, and we've seen poverty, and we've seen ethnic minority kids who don't even speak Mandarin. And right in this prefecture, we talked about how we just passed this satellite lunch center last night. How do you feel about this kind of contrast?
Absolutely. I don't think the contrast can be bigger than what we've experienced and what we witnessed. The Yi People Village is probably one of the poorest and most backward places in China you can ever see. However, I think relative to their situation 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 40 years ago, they are much better off today. But compared with our compatriots on the coastal region, in big cities like Beijing, they're much worse off. So I think our hearts really go out to them. But just next door, very close by, you have the Space Launch Center. That's one of the 4 space centers in China, very important in China's space activities. So you have the poorest part of China next door to the most sophisticated, the cutting edge of high-tech in China.
And Mr. Chen, if I can ask you, we talked a lot about the goal to lift the nation out of poverty by 2020, but there's also this 2025 goal as it shifts from made in China, manufacturing for the world, to created in China. And we're seeing that here in Sichuan Province. From your background as an investor standpoint, tell me why that's important and how you think this area should be looked at internationally.
Well, currently, if you look at the Chinese GDP, per capita GDP, we're just reaching $9,000 per capita threat. So that's a very important threat, because before that, when you're under $10,000, this zone is for developing countries. Most of them do things like made in China, made in Brazil in many decades ago, made in India. But after this threshold, would it be possible to say you create something over here, like Huawei has been doing, like Tencent has been doing? So Chinese companies, well, currently China is actually the world's second largest economy. This means China has a super advantage with creating China, because you see in the Western world, in the English-speaking world, United States is where the most creative society has been. The Silicon Valley is not in the UK, it's in the United States, it's not in Australia. Because United States has got a huge market with like 300 million people. That means once you create something, it's possible for you to commercialize it and make a lot of returns. So everyone is interested with investing in creating things. But when you have a small market, you can't afford to create things. But China is fortunate enough to be able to create, because it's even a larger market in the United States.
Victor, China had this Going West plan. It's a grand plan to develop its relatively underdeveloped West, right, in the rugged mountains. And I think after several decades of that plan, I don't think people have realized the level of development in China's southwest. So places like Chengdu, places like Chongqing. You said in our earlier show that you actually own a piece of property in Chengdu City. Just talk to us about the level of all the exciting things that are happening in the city in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship.
I think Chengdu, among all the other major cities in this part of China, is really standing out in a very splendid way. It's a city where people do enjoy life. They are more leisurely, and they really enjoy family life. They really enjoy gathering together among friends to chit-chat and to talk about politics, their livelihood, etc. But also, it is a very dignified city. It is very rich in Chinese traditions and Chinese culture. And then they also care about, for example, the earthquake-stricken parts and the people over there, even though it's already 11 years after the major earthquake. And I think Chengdu has been attracting lots of foreign direct investments, including from Hong Kong and from Taiwan, for example, and it is well positioned to take off, not only in traditional agriculture, in traditional industry, but also in high-tech. this is probably the new wave of development in Chengdu, which is one of the major centers of the Western strategy development in China.
Right. Mr. Chen, one thing really strikes me as we look at this terrain where we are right now, very rural. A lot of people throughout China have never been to this area or may never get to this area. And once again, you told me as a businessman, what you have learned on this trip is there is plenty of room for future investment by Chinese companies. And one thing that comes to mind is the phone. We've had trouble getting a signal in certain parts, and the fact that Huawei and other companies could certainly invest, and there's a lot of room to grow. How is that going to affect this region, and how much is the sky the limit? I mean, does China have so much potential to continue to grow and reach out, better roads, better bridges, everything?
Well, yes, as we can see here, this region is still, I would say, because my hometown is actually from Nanjing. We lived there back 2 decades ago. And I would say this place is like the development level of Nanjing back maybe 1 or 2 decades ago.
Wow.
So it's another 10 or 20 years for them to catch the coastal regions. That means there is going to be a lot of things to invest. And this place, because it's underdeveloped compared with the coastal areas, they can take over the industries and the companies that coastal areas now trying to upgrade. When the coastal areas is upgrading to even higher technique and the companies and industries, these industries can be taken over by the Western regions. So that's the opportunity for them in the future.
Victor Jiahu just said the coastal regions got ahead of the game early. Just what kind of potential are we talking about in the relatively lagging behind southwestern part?
I think if you look out of the window, you see mountain after a mountain. So the point I want to make may surprise you. I think China needs to become really, truly flat. Meaning China is becoming more and more connected, and it's connection of all kinds. It's connection by highways, by high-speed railways, by 5G, by Internet of Things, by much freer flow of capital and information. More connectivity and making China flatter is one of the best ways to make sure that people in this poverty-stricken region are not left behind, but they have the chance to take off, like the coastal people.
Right, more even development.
And if I could follow up to that, because we were talking about the space program a bit, and I want to go back to that. I guess maybe it was the era I grew up in. I've always been fascinated and really embraced all the changes in space technology, space exploration. And China, it seems, has basically leapfrogged Russia, if not completely, certainly in the process of doing it. More commitment, more money, more future. They're working on their own space station that's gone well, and they've had a high success rate. Tell me how important the space program is, not just from a scientific standpoint, but a pride standpoint.
Absolutely. I think by any measurement, the United States and Russia are two leading space nations in the world. However, China is catching up very significantly. To run a big space program, you really need a lot of money to support that. And I think Russia is a little bit economically difficult situation, and China is gaining more momentum. And China's success rate in terms of satellite launch is surprisingly #1 in the world. And China is more and more experimenting with new innovations and new ways, including, for example, the first landing of a vehicle on the other side, or the further side of the moon,
dark side of the moon.
the dark side of the moon. So that's surprising, and I'm sure that in the coming few years, China's space program will generate more happy surprises. And it's not only a win for China, it's for mankind as a whole.
But also the pride aspect, because I don't think you can overstate that. I mean, it was a huge deal in the U.S. during the 60s and 70s, the battle during the Cold War. But I know that one of the members of Two Sessions was the first female astronaut. So how important is that? These figures become national icons.
Absolutely. I think the success in China's space program is truly a national pride. And it enabled the Chinese people as a whole to lift up their heads and look upward and into the space and to really feel connected, another connectivity, not only in the world that we live in, but also with space, with outer space. And I think the people who live in poverty in Liangshan village, where we just experienced, probably would also feel very proud that one of the most important most sophisticated space centers in China is just next door.
Especially considering not long ago, China was actually considered the copycat king.
Absolutely.
Right,
Innovation is the key going forward. Yes.
How do you think that's played out? I mean, I think that's also a good point. When you talk about just made in China, there's this reputation that I don't think would certainly hold up today about stealing intellectual property and those items. Is it changed dramatically?
Well, that's changing a lot. Like Victor was just talking about the spacecraft thing. I just want to, at one point, to show the difference between now and back a few decades ago. At the time when my parents were young, 1960s, 1970s, the society was always very excited when we send a new rocket into the sky. But nowadays, we just don't even see that on the news because it's too many rockets we're actually sending. And China is creating so many things right now. Previously, China is indeed using a lot of technology, but most of them actually bought from the international market or exchanged with the markets. Like we grant them with the access to the market and they give us the technology. But now China is capable of producing some of the technology that are not really produced in the Western societies like the 5G. But of course, overall speaking, China is still a developing country and the technology is still improving here. The United States is still leading China. So anyway, but this will be going on to a better status when Chinese economy develops.
Thank you, as always, guys, for joining us. We're running out of time, but just very quickly before we go, our little table is actually getting quite full right now.
Our family's growing.
Okay, so I think we're going back to the northeast to Erica and Huiao.
Well, thank you, Sean Calebs and Taoyuan. That sounded like they had a heated discussion on the bus.
All right, then. Let's talk more about manufacturing and introduce our guest again, Professor Li Yong. So, big picture here.
Yep.
Is China still the manufacturing powerhouse that it has been?
Yes, indeed. If you look at the total output value of the manufacturing industry, you know, the number is now, I think it is about 30 trillion RMB. So that makes China the largest one. But if you look at the total, you know, the quality of the manufacturing industry, it's still a kind of a low and middle level. So China is making an effort to maintain this position, but moving upward in the value chain. I think that is going to be I think it is a big challenge for China, and that is going to involve new technologies, you know, robotics, AI even. So technology is going to be the future driver of the upgrading of the China's manufacturing. And of course, China will also attract high-end manufacturing investment from abroad, and this has shown strong growth. It is because of the few great potential of the Chinese market that has attracted the, you know, still ongoing increasing foreign investment in China.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Right, I think Chinese government has set this goal of making China into this giant manufacturing powerhouse by the year 2050. It's a very ambitious goal.
Yep.
What do you think needs to be done, you know, to reach that point where, you know, China can be really proud of its capability to manufacture high-end products?
I think, you know, there are a lot of things that needs to be done. I think, you know, for example, you need to create a kind of a favorable, you know, operating investment that will encourage, you know, competition. Okay, I think competition is good. Okay, competition is going to increase efficiency, and it is going to stimulate innovation.
And the drive for higher quality, right? When you have competition, it really does raise the bar.
Exactly. I think, you know, this is really something, you know, a lot of things can be done around creating this kind of a, you know, very favorable operating system, efficient. I think this is very important. Of course, you know, there are some other things, for example, you know, to increase the input in the basic, you know, R&D.
Basic science and knowledge.
And that is going to be the foundation, I think, of the future manufacturing
development. That is also one of the greatest challenges China is facing these days, that people are not really devoted to this area. Which is so important because that's like the sort of the cornerstone, like the foundations for everything that you want to build up from there.
So what do we need to do for that then? Does that mean trying to get sort of the younger people, start them young in a sense?
I mean, yes, that's I think that the education system should do, but I think there's another point that we need to pay attention to, that is China's relationship, in terms of the global supply chain, because that kind of a relationship will increase, China's integration with the global in manufacturing development. To share, for example, China's market, and then the global players will feel comfortable coming and act as a active player. I think this is the future, where we can see the growing of China's manufacturing for the benefit, I think, of the world.
And what's also important is to pay more to the researchers and experts.
Hey,
because
there you go.
That's like the way to attract talents, to come back to China and really work things out.
Yeah, I think, if you have a good environment, talents will come to work. And the reason why I mentioned it's kind of for the global, well-being, you should really talk about development manufacturing, industry just from the perspective of China, because, China is no longer, just one country. We are in a globalized world, so there needs to be cooperation, and that cooperation will improve the well-being of the world.
And no doubt that's part of the plan as we look ahead of reform and opening up.
Exactly, yes.
All right, Professor Li Yong, thank you so much. As always,
you're welcome.
So good to get his insight.
Yes, always. We'll talk to you more after this hour. As for now, let's go to our colleagues on the southeast route, Li Jianhua and Lindy. Apparently, they are going to visit this manufacturing company in Quanzhou, which is located in Fujian Province.
All right. Thank you so much, Erica and Huiyao. Well, from manufacturing in the southwest, let's tell you what's happening in that sector here in the southeast. We are in Fujian Province in a town called Changchun. Now, of course, you well know the role that manufacturing has played in China's transformation journey. At once, of course, known as the factory of the world, China is responsible for bringing this brand made in China to the world with items like plates and cups and socks and sunglasses. But places like Changchun are taking manufacturing to the next level. In fact, we're here to find out more about smart manufacturing.
That's right, we're taking it definitely to the next level, smart manufacturing. What is it? So today we're in Zhoumu, one of the largest manufacturers when it comes to toilet hardware, right?
Yes.
So what do we have today?
Well, as you can see, I think you can see around us, we are surrounded by toilets. So, of course, China has been going through a toilet revolution, but I wonder if people ever imagined that toilets would become this sophisticated.
It was really different before, right? Back in the 1990s, or probably years right before that. It was very different. We call it dry toilets. What do we call it in Africa?
Well, I think if you go to rural areas in Africa, you'll still find what we call the long drop.
Long
so
drop.
basically a deep hole is dug into the ground.
Right?
Yeah.
That
and
is
then
fine.
you create like a sort of makeshift toilet seat, often out of a box or some kind of box thing with a hole cut in the middle, and that was pretty much your toilet.
And after that, we have the flush toilet,
That's
right?
right.
But now we're taking it to the next level, right? People are getting really laid back nowadays, and we're going to have smart toilets. Everything is getting smart. Smartphone, smart toilet, smart almost everything. And today we're going to have something really smart over here. You may need it, or you may not. But anyways, they have it. Okay, so let's have a look at this. I think you can see it. It is red, and the design is really beautiful. It's very much like Iron Man.
Yeah, it does remind you of Iron Man,
Of course. So how this smart toilet is used in our daily life. Let's talk to Li Hong, who's going to give us an introduction to the smart toilets here. Okay, so hello, how are you? 你好. Okay, so can you tell us something about this smart toilet and how is it going to be used? 您给我们讲一下它大概是怎么使用的这个智能马桶。
首先呢，它的外观呢是我们由世界顶尖汽车团队乔治亚罗跟我们跨界设计的，所以呢，整体呢就是酷似跑车的一个造型。
OK，
那它可以率先实现语音交互功能。如果说家里面有老人或者小朋友不懂得操作的话
，OK， that is lovely. The designer, you know, the designer of a sports car. That is why we have this sleek, very sleek design and George Arrow.
It does kind of remind you of a car.
Yeah,
a sports car.
Okay, so can you tell us how it is used? And you said we can talk to it literally. So can you do it? Can you do it? How it just works? Okay, okay.
我觉得为大家演示一下我们的一个语音功能。你好，小木。
我在。
我要开盖。
正在启动开盖。
我要开圈。
正在启动开圈。
Okay.
我要关圈。
正在启动关圈。
那这个呢是模拟我们人体落坐在上面的一个感应点。当感应到我们人体坐上去的时候呢，它底下会有个喷嘴，它会自动先将喷嘴清洗一遍，那再启动我们的一个囤洗、复洗、烘干的一系列智能功能。你好，小木。
我在。
我要囤洗。
正在启动囤洗。
OK。
当我发出这个指令的时候，它底下这个喷嘴就会自动伸出来清洗我们的私密处，包括说它的整个水温呢，及这个座圈盖板的温度都是可以持续加温的。
That is lovely. I don't think I need to explain it at all, right? As you can see, you're gonna have this nozzle. You have this nozzle coming out, right?
For
and
extra
the cleaning. Okay. That is lovely. Probably we're going to try it ourselves.
At what point is it going to be able to speak different languages? Perhaps you can ask us. There going to be models that speak in English and, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. 现在它只能说汉语，什么时候能说英语？
目前的话，我们会慢慢的走向国际化。
Okay.
都是可以改善的。
This is going on the international arena now, so we're going to have English or probably some other languages, whatever languages that is suitable. So anyway, so this lovely. How can I stop it? 这个怎么能停呢？
当感应到我们人体走开的时候，它就会自动停止了。对，包括它会自动冲刷。
So when you get up, it automatically
都是自
stops.
动化的。
Okay, so this pad, if you put this pad, is very much like the simulator of someone who's sitting in the toilet, but if you remove it or you're leaving the toilet, and then it would go back, the nozzle would go back.
All right.
And
Well, why don't you give it a try closing the lid with your
Okay.
voice?
So, what do I say again? 小木，你好，小木。你好，小木。
我在。
关盖。我要关盖。
已关圈。
你好，小木，我要关盖。
我在。
我要关盖。
请先闸座。
你好，小木。
我在。
我要关盖。
正在启动关盖。
Okay.
She doesn't like you.
Yeah, properly. I don't have the magic to do it.
No,
Anyway,
you don't
so
have
let
the
me
magic touch.
open it. Do you want to try it yourself? 你好，你好，小木。
Okay. 你好，小木。
我在。
And then?
我要开盖。
正在启动开盖。
你好，小木。
我在。
我要开圈。
正在启动开圈。
Basically, it means I want to open the
This would
the
have
toilet
to.
seat.
This would force me to learn Mandarin. Like if I wanted to use my toilet, I'd have to be able to speak the language.
There will be the English version pretty soon, I think.
Yes,
Okay.
but
你
for
好，
now at
小
least.
木。
我在。
我要关圈。
正在启动关圈。
That's lovely, isn't
Great.
it? Okay.
Really fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we know, of course, that there's more to this place than electric toilets. In fact, though, sticking with toilets for a little bit longer, let's take a look at another interesting product that they have here that we saw earlier that I certainly want to share with our viewers.
Yeah.
As technology develops, I think what's happening around the world is that we're seeing products coming to the market for markets that were previously marginalized or even ignored.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's obviously people around the world who have very specific needs, very particular
like for the
needs.
disabled
For
or
the
the
disabled,
senior.
the elderly,
Yeah.
you know, and I think we came across this earlier when we took a walk around. So perhaps I can just ask you, please, to demonstrate how this works and how it would help disabled people or the elderly.
Okay. 这个怎么样？您帮我们展示一下它怎么能够给这个老年人和残疾人使
对
用。
它的这个遥控呢，可以任意调节高度，方便说有些老年人他腿脚可能不是很方便，就方便他们使用。
So we're going to use this control to lift it up and down, right?
That's amazing.
包括说我们旁边有2个助力扶手，可以防止说他们助力站起来。那我们这边有带有 SOS 的一个报警系统，跟我们家人的手机是相连接的，可以紧急联络到我们的
So we
家
have
人。
two arms on both sides, right? So that definitely is really helpful when it comes to some disabled or the elderly. And we also have this emergency call, and the emergency call is connected to the family members.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, right? It was definitely impossible before. Yeah, but now with the smart manufacturing, so it is getting possible for the marginalized, as you said.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything
No, I
else
mean,
that
that's
you want
really,
to show?
I mean, beyond
Okay.
the fact that it's just a really interesting device and it's really well designed and its manufacturing has a lot of importance, it could actually save lives, you know?
Yeah.
Having this emergency SOS button, you know that you'd have a person in the family who maybe has these special needs, but at least if anything goes wrong, you're alerted on your cell phone, even if you're miles away. I mean, it's really amazing stepping into the future and just seeing how we're going to be better able to support the elderly, to support those who are disabled.
Sure.
And it's not the only products actually that they have in this particular section. I noticed earlier that there's also the base and the sink.
Yeah.
Similarly, it can also be moved up and down to, I think it's actually, right, to accommodate somebody who's
height.
perhaps, And this is also useful for children too, right? If you have
If you
young
lower
kids,
it.
you can lower it for them. And again, also has the same
Emergency call.
emergency button.
Yeah.
I really, really like this, actually.
That is lovely.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
it can-
magic of manufacturing now.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that manufacturing, especially smart manufacturing, has come to this level already. But it's definitely not only about like the manufacturing in the narrow sense. When it comes to smart manufacturing, we're using it to save the resources, energy, power, right? So we have come to this place. We all have
Yeah.
shower heads in our households, right?
Exactly.
But the shower heads is just like the shower heads that we have. But for this one, that's the magic.
very
It's
unique,
very
isn't it?
unique and special.
Okay.
Okay, can you tell us how it works here? 您能给我们展示一下它这个是怎么样使用？它有什么样不同
看这
的地方
款呢是我们水力发电的照明花洒，是我们总部与飞利浦跨界合作的。
OK
那通过水力发电的原理产生电流，灯光的亮度呢就取决于我们水压的一个大小。
Okay, that's lovely. So for the light, actually the light is produced by the running water.
That's really amazing. So
This
not
is
only
hydroelectricity,
Yeah.
like the dam we have.
That's incredible. Because not only is this, smart manufacturing quite, incorporating beautiful design, but as you said earlier, like it's about green manufacturing too, right?
Green
really-
energy, green manufacturing,
Yeah.
and the light, of course the light. Now you can adjust the light of the brightness of it
Yeah.
according to the strength of the shower here. That
Okay, well,
is
but it's not
lovely.
wastewater.
That's not wastewater, just for the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
that's
this is really
interesting.
amazing. So this is the future. We only use what we need. If you need the light, it's driven by the water. I find that
Of course.
absolutely amazing.
So green energy, and we also have smart manufacturing for the disabled, for the marginalized.
Exactly.
Also for the, we have the smart toilet. Like you can literally talk to it.
I know.
That is amazing.
That is, we're getting so lazy now. We're not even going to use our hands anymore
Do you think
to lift a toilet
human
seat.
beings probably in the future would be too lazy to do anything?
I think
We're gonna
so.
have smart
The things that will become
smart
obsolete will
households,
be-
right? Now, I think we have this trend already. Like you can order anything, especially in China, on the Chinese
course.
mainland, to order food, everything online, right?
That's
I
right.
think that's the same here because. So if you turn around the camera, you can see this C2F that is called customer to factory. Basically, it means you can order something online, like you can customize the stuff that you want
That's
online within an
amazing.
hour, and they have the design, and then within 24 hours, it would be the product that you want.
Yeah.
That's amazing,
I mean,
right?
interestingly, with e-commerce, it's obviously gone so far here in China.
Yeah.
And in other parts of the world, people are really starting to pick it up. There was often a sense of mistrust about buying goods online. But look how far it's come in China now. Now you're basically you're partly designing your own goods. They're being made in a factory and being brought to your home. I think this is a good time to bring in some experts, some analysis on what we've seen in this factory today. So let's introduce our resident experts. We are with Professor Zhang Gong and Professor Lin Boqiang. Professor Gong, let me start with you. So, we've been talking about China's journey when it comes to manufacturing. What do you think this room, this place that we're in, says about the brand made in China?
Well, I think it represents the level of sophistication in terms of its production, its ordering system, its interface with customers. This whole process, as this screen has shown, is entirely automated. From the time that the order was made to this order passed on to the system and then into the factory, into the manufacturing floor, and then the product was shipped out. This whole process seems to be well managed and automated. As we know, these products, the companies focus on these products, the kitchen items, the bathroom items are very, very specific, demands person specific in terms of size, color, customers' preference for faucets and the different, products, accessories. These are all very itemized, they're very specific products. And how do you actually incorporate these very specific items into the highly automated production process? That represents a big challenge, and I think that's where the smart manufacturing comes in. It's well managed. It's it's based on software, the automated process. These things, I think, at the core. In addition to just the technology to manufacture products, the process itself is highly sophisticated. And how you actually achieve that, I think that's the strength of the company, and represents the level of sophistication and advancement for companies here in China. I think that's the very essence of made in China.
Yeah, that's right. And smart manufacturing, something like this, was totally unimaginable before, right? But now these products actually are imported or exported to different countries, especially those countries we say the Belt and Road countries or countries along the route of the Belt and Road, right? So what do you see China's smart manufacturing at this level? Do you think the manufacturing the products are going to those countries and taking over the markets from the Western companies?
I think it's inevitable because of the cost is a lot cheaper compared to the brand produced by developed countries. Even in developed countries, I think there's a big threat. The Chinese product eventually will take over the market. Even though at this moment there's still ongoing process that for example, like this brand is still there's ongoing process to build a brand name. It's well known in China, but it's still not well known in Western countries. In Southeast Asia, I think it's okay, but the overall the brand is still the name of brand is still under building, and I think it will continue to move forward. And I think I met the boss before, and I can't mention in there. It's a huge market. Think about it. It's China now, right? It's still, even though that we have very good infrastructure in the cities, but look at the countryside. It's still a huge market. Look at India. Look at South Africa. Low and bare.
Just very quickly, of course, the history of manufacturing in China over the past 40 years earned the country the label, the factory of the world. And now, today, do you think China wears this label with a sense of pride?
No, that could be a problem. The labor costs are rising very quickly. And that's one worry that the manufacturing sector has a same concern. The reason I'm saying that is that the manufacturing in China is huge. It's the largest one globally. The total output value roughly about 30% of the global total. But the profitability less than 3%. It's far more less compared to all other countries. And that is one. I think that's one is overcapacity, and the other one is that because of the people has been so long that believe in the cheap product. And they are not willing to pay for it. But this kind of problem will create the transition from traditional manufacturing to intellectual manufacturing.
Professor
I think that the answer to that challenge, the rising labor costs in China, is automation using robots. So let's look at the screen. I remember seeing people on the screen. You see, the belts are moving and it's all automated. And my understanding of the process of making say a toy, for example, it's a highly automated process. You don't have a lot of labor involved. So I think the answer to that is using machine, using automation, and I would imagine the future, the component of cost contributed to labor is becoming smaller and smaller. And the competitive advantage is really in terms of screening efficiency out of it, using the process, using software, using machinery. And I think that's the answer to that kind of manufacturing.
That's right. I think China is getting more and more automatic, right? And of course, the smart manufacturing now is the, what do we call it? The catchphrase now, probably in this era, right? So this place is Changchun. It used to be a hotspot before, right? During the maritime Silk Road era, like back in the 15th century, but now this place has upgraded itself to smart manufacturing. Absolutely. I think that's all for us. Let's turn back to Huiyao and Erica.
In fact, we're not going back to them. This is the wrap-up of today's program. So we hope that from north to south and east to west, we've shown you a full spectrum of what is happening in manufacturing in China. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
In 70 years, China has undergone unprecedented transformation. From its old industrial base in the northeast to its new manufacturing powerhouse in the southeast and to its emerging southwest, CGTN offers you a panoramic view of contemporary China. Our crews will travel along 3 different routes and come to you live from dozens of locations and free mobile studios. Join us for an all-inclusive look at China on our TV channel and digital platforms, September the 9th to the 20th. It is New China, then and now, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, only on CGTN.